Hello friends, today I am here to discuss the structure of an atom with you. But before I do that, I would like to discuss the definition of an atom, what essentially an atom is. The word atom comes essentially from a Greek word called atomos, which means one that cannot be cut or divided, right? So, somewhere in the 18th and 19th centuries, it were the Indian and Greek philosophers who gave this notion, that atom cannot be cut or divided, and hence named this small unit as atomos. But in the later half of those centuries, in the 19th and 20th centuries, there were scientists like Rutherford, Bohr, and Thomson who performed various experiments and proved that atom can be divided into further smaller particles. We will study about it later, right? So now let us see the formal definition of an atom. Atom is of course the smallest unit of an element, but one which is having all the characteristics of that element. So if we say that atom is smallest unit of an element, it would be a wrong statement. Smallest unit of an element which has all the characteristics of that element is called an atom. Now, why am I paying so much stress to having all the characteristics of the atom? So electrons, protons and neutrons, which are a part of the atom, right, contribute a lot to both the physical and chemical properties of any element, right? A chemical would be more reactive if it has, more easily and more number of free electrons. It will be less reactive if it is outermost shell is complete. So atom is the smallest unit of an element having all the characteristics of that element. Now let us see what the atom consists of. It consists of nucleus and electrons revolving around this nucleus in orbitals. Let us see how it looks like. This is an atom. It has a nucleus and atoms are revolving around this nucleus in various orbitals. This nucleus in turn contains protons and neutrons, right? It took the efforts of many scientists and many experiments to know the atom as we know today, right? There were scientists like Thomson, Rutherford and Bohr who did various experiments and brought up the structure of atom that we know today. Let us try to study models proposed by each scientist one by one. So what did Thomson say? Thomson's model can be explained with the help of a watermelon. He said that the positive charge in the atom is spread all over like the red edible part of the watermelon, right? And you see those black seeds in the watermelon? Thomson explained that electrons are embedded in that red positively charged sphere like seeds are in the watermelon, right? Hence, according to Thomson's model, atom is composed of electrons surrounded by a soup of positive charge, just like negatively charged plums surrounded by positively charged pudding. So, Thomson's model is also called plum pudding model, where the negative electrons are mentioned as plums and the positive charge, a soup of positive charge, is known as the pudding, right? Okay. Next scientist who performed an experiment to understand the structure of the atom was Rutherford. In 1911, he fired positively charged helium particles at a foil. What was his aim? He wanted to see how the particles deflected. Positive charge attracts negative charge and gets deflected by the positive charge. Same charges repel each other, right? So, what he did, he fired helium particles on a gold foil, and what was his observation? Most of the particles went across and a very few particles got deflected. Now since most of the particles were neither repelled nor attracted, they just passed across. What did it mean? That most of the space inside an atom is empty. Very few particles came back Helium particles are positively charged particles, alpha particles. So when they came back, this means there is a very very small space of positive charge inside an atom, right? And so this is what it says. Most of the space inside an atom is empty. There is a very small space positively charged inside the atom, and all positive charge and mass of atoms are present within a very small volume inside the atom. But life is not that simple for any of us, even the scientists, right? Rutherford's model was able to explain all the observations, but it was not explaining stability of atoms. According to Rutherford, electrons were moving around the nucleus in spheres. Now, according to another scientist, Maxwell, every moving particle radiates energy. So, if that is the case, electrons which are moving around the nucleus in spherical paths should keep on radiating energy and eventually fall into the nucleus, and hence every atom should be unstable, which means matter will not exist at all. But that is not the case. This means there is some drawback in the Rutherford's model, right? So here came another scientist known as Bohr, who gave some postulates to explain the stability of atom. According to Bohr, only certain orbitals are allowed inside the atom, and these orbitals are called discrete orbitals. Right? This is the structure which Bohr gave for an atom. Here is the nucleus, and then well spaced and well defined orbitals are allowed, right? And while revolving in these orbitals, electrons do not radiate energy. Bohr named those orbits as energy levels, and they are represented by K shell, L shell, M shell and N shell, right? And rule 2 was maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated in outermost orbit is 8. We will do numericals on the same and try to understand this. Rule number 3, electrons cannot be filled in the outer shell until the inner shells are completely filled. This means shells are filled in a stepwise manner, right?